Good evening, you guys. Just now setting everything up. Make sure everything is live. Hi, Barbara. How are you? Yeah, I miss you too. What are you doing these days? Emma, what's going on, bro? You know, I definitely want some peanut butter cookies from you, Barbara. Oh yeah. How we sounding? How we sounding?
Burn it.
I thought I could get YouTube set up and running, also going live, but I don't know. I don't think it's running out there, so I might have to skip YouTube for now because I don't see it running. But definitely, you can catch me on Facebook Live. Also, if I have the Times International app, you could go download the app, TYMEZINTL Radio. And I also got Twitch running live as well. I got it all set up. There's no excuse where you can't listen. Okay, I think YouTube is finally up and running. I appreciate everyone who's checking it out so far. Welcome to the podcast. This is episode 1, the first one ever. And I hope we can bring some uplifting stuff to everyone. Start talking about something interesting, something thought-provoking, something different. I don't know. We'll see. We also got a phone line where you can call in as well. If you feel like you want to share some opinion on the matter, on the topic, you have some insight you want to drop in on the topic, definitely. Let me give you that number right now. I'm running across the screen. That's the line right there. You can definitely call in. Or if you're so happen that you want to even be part of the podcast, you want to come live, you want to be on the show with me, we can get you set up for that as well. All right. The studio, as you see in the background here, I've been working on this for some time now, and I finally got it up and running. I'm in a cool, nice space, a space where I feel comfortable, a place where I can turn up the music and I can definitely talk. And I have everything right in front of me, and I have it set up nice, man. I appreciate it. You guys' patience that you guys took time with me, that I got it all set up, but it's here. It's definitely here. Definitely here. Another 2 minutes and we get going on the topic for the day. I'm sure you can see it. It's a tough one. It's really, really a tough topic, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I don't know, man. I've been known to taking on some tough topics, but we'll see. We will see. We will see. The link on YouTube. You can always find me on YouTube under Times International, TYMEZINTL Radio. Search for Times International Radio, and you could definitely find it there. And it's the same thing for Twitch. Times International, or you can search DJ Crucial, Crushal. All right, all right, all right. I got a few people logged in already listening, and I definitely appreciate that. Ah, got me feeling nervous with so many people listening to me. Golly, golly, golly. All right, another minute and we get going. I'm excited. I must say I'm excited. This is the first podcast. You know, I'm gonna see what I don't know. Kind of excited and nervous at the same time. That's an adrenaline rush. So, but it's something I always wanted to do, man. So I'm gonna get going, and I figured now was the best time to do it, to get a podcast going, and so I could start talking about some interesting things. I think. Don't be afraid to share and like my podcast, please. I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate it wherever you're watching from, please. Like I said earlier, you could download the app. The app is scrolling across your screen right there. You could get it for Android and Apple. So I get no excuse where you can't listen. And we're setting it up where we have different DJs where we could go on live and listen live on the radio app. So that's gonna be something to happen. All right. Like I said, I appreciate you guys who checked out. Please share the live, and as you can see, the topic that's gonna be on your screen right now: roles in relationship, traditional versus non-traditional. Again, if you want to join into the conversation, we can have you. We can invite you to the live talk. You could come on and you could talk, sharing opinions. I don't want to be the only one here talking, people. So come on, let me know if you want to join in. I was hoping to have some co-hosts guests lined up today so we could have good conversations going. Cause no fun with one person talking, but don't be afraid to even drop a comments and so forth too. Um, Sharice was supposed to be on here too, man. I was hoping that you would join me. You might not be too late either. So if you want to hop in, definitely hop in. But let me give you a little background about my podcast, so I don't bore you guys to death for the amount of time that I'm here. So, around town was something that I wanted to do for a long time. Around town, what does it mean? Um, like one of my good friends says, around town is kind of a narrow subject because it limits you to the amount of things that you could talk about. You around town, you talk about the war that's happening. Is that happening around town? No, it's not happening around town. But like I said, I wanted to I wanted to have a title that it's kind of focused. Um, and it's narrow because of where you might be, but it's also broad because you could go anywhere and you could be around town. If I go to Jamaica and I'm in particular part of Jamaica and I want to broadcast from there, I am around. I could talk about wherever I'm at. So that's why I wanted to keep that topic, I mean that title around town because again, it might be narrow on focus on wherever you're at, but you can also apply it to wherever you are. But to give more in depth about the whole idea of why it came about, I live in Springfield for a while, and I kind of noticed that there's a lot of things that goes on around in Springfield, and I feel like I'm on social media quite a bit, but at the same time, I'll have conversation with someone, and they'll say, "Hey, did you hear about what's going on with so and so at Blunt Park or Magazine Park or whatever it is?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't hear about it." And it was like it's all over social media, and I'm wondering to myself, this can't be unique. This can't be just me that's happening to. A lot of people who even are not even on social media, they may not even know what's going on around town. And there's a lot of things that's happening around town that's positive. And as you all know, news don't carry the positive stuff. It's the negative stuff the news carry. So I want I wanted to thank you, Jassity. I wanted to be um I wanted to bring something that I can share what's going on around town, the positive stuff. Like for instance, let's talk about even the Newkirk draft league that's going on. Um, Guy that I played basketball with, young guy who decided to do a basketball league, and it's been successful. It's been positive. It's bringing people together. There's a lot of basketball leagues around town. It's not just that one, but it's one of the latest one. And for a lot of people who may not be even on social media, who may not even be connected to that, may not even know that something like that is going on around town. And it's a positive thing. Things like that needs to be highlighted. So around town is kind of geared to focusing on things like that. And then I got one of my coworkers that I worked with at Chapin, Elaine. Elaine and I sat down for quite a bit, and we wanted to talk about. She's a dietitian, and we wanted to talk about food. And we talked a lot about food. We met. We had some ideas where we wanted to go with food, and we could talk about around town with food as well. And one of the things that we wanted to talk about was what about these local restaurants that we have going on around here? Do people highlight these restaurants? Do people talk about these restaurants, whether it's good or bad? What about restaurants that may not be the regular stuff that you hear about? So around town kind of applied to that as well. Um, so then I met with another buddy of mine who wanted to talk about more sports. Look at the football leagues that's going on that goes undefeated. Coach Wadi is one of the coaches that deals with football, the local youth football down here. They travel around the world and I mean around the country, and they play games down right there at Central. And do we really talk about that? No, we don't. We don't really hear about that. Or if you're not on social media, you may not even hear about that. I know a lot of people attend these things and a lot of people do it, but I feel like more of these things need to be highlighted. I have thank you, thank you, Sherry Ann, thank you, Evelyn, for the birthday wishes. Yes, today's my birthday, and I didn't plan it like this, by the way. I did not. I promise you, I didn't plan it that I have this my first episode on my birthday, but it just worked out that way. So it's my birthday present to myself. Um, uh, Thank you, Sharice. But what I was saying too is that we I have another conversation. Even I mean, Sharice was one of my inspirations to kind of go in this route as far as to uh talking about things that even made me even more personal. that affects the community, affects us around town. You know, Cherise had a string of topics that she wanted to educate people on breast cancer awareness. Um, and I definitely wanted to join in that because that's something cancer is something that's personal to me as well. So I wanted to, you know, enlighten people about what are some of the signs to look for. And Sharice talked about that is what are some of the signs, what are some of the things that you look for. And she's a nurse, by the way, so she's very knowledgeable on the situation. So having her to talk about things like that is something that um, would I feel like would bring some highlights to the community or to people who may not even try to focus on things like that. So I definitely around town definitely is yes, it's we may be focused on maybe just here, but there's a lot to talk about in this community. And I feel like I it's the time where I can step up and say maybe I can do a part and aid and help in that in bringing information to the community. So here I am. Here I am. I'm trying the thing out, and I'm hoping that I can do well with it. Hopefully, I could, um, bring some good information to people. Maybe I can talk to some people. Maybe hopefully I will make it boring. And that's definitely don't want to make it boring. So if I get too bored, please tell me, and I'll turn the music on, and we start jump up and dance, that, and then we just cut the topic. But the goal is to educate. The goal is to entertain. The goal is to enlighten people, um, whoever is listening. And definitely, um, I'm doing this definitely. My selfish reasons for doing it too is that I want to learn a lot more. And I'm hoping that I can learn a lot more from these topics. So I'm not just pulling topics out of the air because they may be popular. Some of these may be even personal, So I am definitely using this as a way to educate myself and help myself. Okay, so that's how it works. That's the introduction to it. Again, the topic, like you see it on the screen, roles in a relationship, whether it's traditional or not traditional. And how I came upon this topic is this. It's simply this. My wife found this topic someplace and she reposted it on social media, on Facebook. And I seen it and I am like, wow, that's deep. That's definitely deep. And it's something that I definitely kind of hit me. And I'm like, all right, that's something to talk about. And I want to talk about it. Shaylin, thank you, bro. Thanks for checking out the live. So I'm gonna play the clip for you right now so you can hear it. And in fact, if I can show you, I want to give credit where credit is due and make sure that I give the proper people their due when they so I don't get tagged with anything bad or anything like that, or they kick me out. So I want to give the credit where the credit is due. So hold on, let me share the screen. All right, there we go. So again, this is a podcast in itself that they have this topic on their podcast, and this person right here wanted to give their spiel about the topic, and this is what she said.
But as a partner, we need you to try to step into our shoes, see it through our eyes, hear it through our ears, feel it through our heart so you can better understand where we are coming from. I want to say this to the men so y'all can better understand what's really going on with us women. We are mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually exhausted in motherhood, okay? The domestic labor falls on us, and we know that society goes by traditional roles, so a lot of the household deeds fall on the women. But for us we constantly have to be attentive to what our children need when they're sick, when they look like they're about to become sick. Their education.
Let me pull that up for a second. I think I forgot to mute one of the other channels. So let me play that one more time for you guys. Let me definitely play it again.
Their emotional well-being, them learning, their coping skills. This is all of everything that we are paying attention to. On top of loving our children, we're trying to find spaces to be able to love ourselves. On top of trying to create safety for our children, we're looking for safety and security within ourselves. And sometimes because of all of the expectations and obligations and burdens and the load on us, we can't find that safety. So we turn to our partner, and sometimes in our partner, because they resent us so much for the transitions that we have faced in our motherhood, we can't find safety with them as well. So you have to be able to extend some type of grace. And that's what we mean when we say we want to be seen, we want to be heard, we want to be understood, we want to be validated. We need you all because we understand that mentally, psychologically, men and women are not the same. We understand that, but as a partner, we need you to try to step into our shoes, see it through our eyes, hear it through our ears, feel it through our heart, so you can better understand where we are coming from. I want to say this to the men so y'all can better understand what's really going on with us women. We are mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually exhausted in motherhood, okay? The domestic labor falls on us, and we know that society goes by traditional roles, so a lot of the household deeds fall on the women. But for us we constantly have to be attentive to what our children need when they're sick, when they look like they're about to become sick, their education, their emotional well-being, them learning, their coping skills. This is all of everything that we are paying attention to. On top of loving our children, we're trying to find spaces to be able to love ourselves. On top of trying to create safety for our children, we're looking for safety and security within ourselves. And sometimes because of all of the expectations and obligations and burdens and the load on us, we can't find that safety. So we turn to our partner, and sometimes in our partner, because they resent us so much for the transitions that we have faced in our motherhood, we can't find safety with them as well. So you have to be able to extend some type of grace. And that's what we mean when we say we want to be seen, we want to be heard, we want to be understood, we want to be validated. We need you all because we understand that mentally, psychologically, men and women are not the same. We understand that, but as a partner, we need you to try to step into our shoes, see it through our eyes, hear it through our ears, feel it through our heart, so you can better understand where we are coming from.
I hope you guys heard that loud and clear. Did you guys hear it? Give me a thumbs up if you heard that. Or whatever. Okay, if you hear that. I don't know. This is a deep topic. This is a really, really deep topic. And I've taught, one of the things I try to do is when I hear these things, one of the first things I try to do is have a conversation with my wife and hear a female side, a female version of it. And like I said, it's a deep topic. And as I heard it, I kind of got offended. Maybe I took it personal. Maybe I did take it personal when I heard it, because how do I put this? I feel like of the traditional roles that she's talking about, do they really exist right now? Do they really exist still in society? Do they really still exist? I mean, women are in the workforce just as men are today as more than ever. So if a man is out there working and a woman is out there working, and we're talking about, just to get it right, let me just make it clear. We're talking about a man and a woman, not a full relationship, whereas you have a couple. Okay, it's not like we have a single parent or whatever it is. It's not a single parent situation. We're having a couple in this here. Whatever couple your couple situation is, it's a couple. It's two people. All right, and both of y'all are working out there, and you have the roles. What are some of the traditional roles that exist, that used to exist? You're talking about the caring for the child, washing the clothes, doing the laundry, probably setting up appointments for kids, tending to kids, things like that. Those are would be considered traditional roles. And then you're talking about maybe the traditional man role would be to go out there and you work, and you do the house stuff like fixing up things and doing the outside work and things like that. Those are the traditional roles. So if those roles still exist in your relationship right now, why do they still exist? Like Cherie says, they do in some household, but if both of them are working, why do they still exist? I'm gonna post what Cherie says. Sometimes both are working. However, the woman has to come home and clean, take care of the children, cook, give the children and her household attention. It's a lot if the woman is working as well. If she's not working, it might be lighter. I agree. It's a lot if a woman is working. Definitely is a lot. But my question is to you is, are are you still, do you have to do those things? Are those traditional roles placed on you because that's what the men expect of you? Or these are some of the things that you as a woman feel that you have to do? That's one of the questions I wanted to ask that lady. Do you still have to do those roles? Are those roles are the things that you have to do? Does a man say you have to do those roles? I would love to hear some female perspective of, if that's happening in the relationships. Why do you feel like you have to do those things? I mean, they have to be done, but why do they have to be done specifically by you? Do you feel like, again, you have to do them? Is it something that is required of you in your relationship? And if they're required of you in a relationship, do you and your partner have an understanding of that's what supposed to happen? And did you accept those understandings when you got into the relationship? So if those are understanding that you have accepted, then what changed now? Another question I would love to ask too is, who decides today's society's roles? We're talking about roles in relationship. Who decides whether or not a woman have to do laundry or a woman have to cook? Who decides those things? I wish I could have somebody have a conversation with me. I would rather have a female in here have those conversation with me right now. Who decide those roles, whether or not, you know, the society tells you that you have to do that? Or is it something that you're doing on yourself because you feel you have to do that to measure up? And why do you feel you have to measure up? Because honestly, if if you're out there doing the same work that you're bringing in, you're both breadwinners in the household, right? You're both the breadwinners in the household. You both put in your hours. Let's just say, for argument's sake, you're carrying about the same amount of money home, bringing into the household, right? You're bringing in the same amount of money, but you come home, you still come home, you do the laundry, you still do the cooking, you still do the cleaning, you still, if you guys have kids, you still tend to the kids or what have you, and then it still goes to the appointments, take the kids to the appointments, da 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 da, and all of that work, and the man is sitting there not doing and not sharing the needs. Then does he require for you to do that? Does he really require for you to do that? Or is it something that you're doing on your own because you feel like that's the only way this guy is going to love me, because I have to do those things? Or because back in the day, those were my roles, and for me to be in the relationship, then I have to keep doing those things because that's the only way he's gonna love me. I'm gonna play that clip again. I'm gonna play that clip again. You tell me. I do want to hear from people about even some of those two questions that I asked. I do want to hear from people. Let me read what Cherie says before I move on. I think a lot of times it's expected. Let me put it on the screen here. A lot of times it's expected of us. We sometimes think that's the role of a woman ourselves. So let me just tackle that, Cherise. If that's something that, let's say sometimes you think that, are some female, if it's not necessarily you, let's say some female thinks that way, then again, my question to you is, if you feel, is that something that's expected of you? If a man is expecting that of you and you're in that relationship, and we're not gonna go talking about whether you should leave the relationship or not. Let's just not say that. But we sometimes think that is the role of a woman. We as in female think that way. That you should, that's the role of a woman. So if sometimes you think that way, then the question is, does a man think that way? Does a man think that you have to do those things? And it definitely depends on the man in the relationship. It definitely does. But I would love to find out from even some of the guys too, that do you expect these things of females? I'm willing to bet that for a lot of males, I don't want to say a lot. I'm not going to say a lot. For some males, a lot of the things that are considered roles or traditional roles in the household, that they still don't expect that of their woman. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. And maybe I'm going to go out on a limb and say it in about my relationship. I don't expect my wife to be the person to come home every day and cook and clean and do laundry. And when our child is acting up, to be the one to tend to him. I don't expect that at all. In fact, I don't expect any of those things. Does she do them? She does. She do her. She definitely do a lot of things, and we share the roles in our home, definitely. But it's not something that I expect of her to come home and do. Not after she's done 8 hours, just like I did. No way. So I would love to hear from some guys that, do you expect your woman to come home and do traditional roles after they've worked the same 8 hours and maybe sometimes more that you have done as well? I'm going to play the clip again. I'm going to come back to it.
I want to say this to the men so y'all can better understand what's really going on with us women. We are mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually exhausted in motherhood, okay? The domestic labor falls on us, and we know that society goes by traditional roles, so a lot of the household deeds fall on the women. But for us we constantly have to be attentive to what our children need when they're sick, when they look like they're about to become sick, their education, their emotional well-being, them learning, their coping skills. This is all of everything that we are paying attention to. On top of loving our children, we're trying to find spaces to be able to love ourselves. On top of trying to create safety for our children, we're looking for safety and security within ourselves. And sometimes because of all of the expectations and obligations and burdens and the load on us, we can't find that safety. So we turn to our partner, and sometimes in our partner, because they resent us so much for the transitions that we have faced in our motherhood, we can't find safety with them as well. So you have to be able to extend some type of grace. That's what we mean when we say we want to be seen, we want to be heard, we want to be understood, we want to be validated. We need you all because we understand that mentally, psychologically, men and women are not the same. We understand that, but as a partner, we need you to try to step into our shoes, see it through our eyes, hear it through our ears, feel it through our heart, so you can better understand where we are coming from. I want to say this to the men so y'all can better understand what's really going on with us women. We are mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually exhausted in motherhood, okay? The domestic labor falls on us, and we know that society goes by traditional roles, so a lot of the household deeds fall on the women. But for us we constantly have to be attentive to what our children need when they're sick, when they look like they're about to become sick, their education, their emotional well-being, them learning, their coping skills. This is all of everything that we are paying attention to. On top of loving our children, we're trying to find spaces to be able to love ourselves. On top of trying to create safety for our children, we're looking for safety and security within ourselves. And sometimes because of all of the expectations and obligations and burdens and the load on us, we can't find that safety. So we turn to our partner, and sometimes in our partner, because they resent us so much for the transitions that we have faced in our motherhood, we can't find safety with them as well. So you have to be able to extend some type of grace. That's what we mean when we say we want to be seen, we want to be heard, we want to be understood, we want to be validated. We need you all because we understand that mentally, psychologically, men and women are not the same. We understand that, but as a partner, we need you to try to step into our shoes, see it through our eyes, hear it through our ears, feel it through our heart, so you can better understand where we are coming from.
Here it is again. There it is again. Like I said, I'm willing to go on a limb and says that a lot of these traditional roles that that she talked about are not necessarily existing in relationships anymore. It's not the expectations. Are they being done? Absolutely. Absolutely being done. Are they expected is the question. And I don't feel like they are. I really don't feel like a lot of them are expected. Some, of course, some of them, yes, absolutely. In a relationship, some of them are expected by some men. But did you choose to stay in that relationship? Are you forced to stay in that relationship? That's another topic for another show. But do you really, in today's society, 2023, are you telling me you're working, your man is working, and you still have to go out, come home, and do all those things, and you're okay with that? I don't know. I don't feel like today's females accept those things. I don't see it. I don't talk to female that accept those things. So I'm kind of not buying it, really, to be honest with you. I'm not buying it that you're doing those things and it's expected of you. Tell me different. Tell me something different. Tell me different that it is. Provide me some proof that it is that, that is something that is expected of you. And you still carry it out as if we're living in way back in the 1800s. So another thing I wanted to talk about too is if those traditional roles don't exist anymore, the question is, let's just say we're in a situation where your man now says, you have one of those guys that don't want to, they don't want to live by those traditional things anymore. So a man decided to step up and do some things in the house. He's going to step up and let's say he's going to do the laundry. And to even the workload, he's going to do the laundry. Maybe he'll help out with the cleaning, help share the cooking and things like that. Does those traditional men roles also get shared? In that relationship, does those traditional men roles get shared as well? Now the man is picking up the slack and saying, you know what, I don't want my woman to do all the household after she worked 8 hours. Let's just say, you know what, I'm going to do some of those chores for her. I'm going to help. And I don't want to call them chores, roles, not chores, roles. He's going to say, you know what, let me do some of those things that she normally does, because she has a rough day at work too. She has burdens. She has burdens. She has to, let's share the workload. We both work hours. We bring money to the table. We bring money back to the household. We share on the bills and so forth. Let's share the traditional female roles. Let's share those. Does the traditional male roles get shared as well? I don't know. Does the female go out there and shovel the snow? I know snow is seasonal. I know it's seasonal. Does she go out there and shovel the snow? Does she go out there and cut the lawn? Does she help out with, say, I don't know, when you gotta do household repairs? She part of that chore. She's part of those things too. You know what I mean? So it's just, again, sometimes if we're gonna expect to do away with those traditional roles, or expect to you know to share roles, or expect a man to step in a female shoes, then like she said, let a man step in their shoes and see it from their eyes. How often does the female step in the male position and say, you know what, he has to do some of those things, a lot of those things that I don't do, or I can't do, or I choose not to do because I'm a female. It has to be a level playing ground when it comes to all the household things. If we're going to make that argument, thoughts? What do you think? Should we level the playing ground across? I agree. Every relationship is different, but what she's talking about from that podcast is saying that men, and I know we had this conversation on Facebook recently. He says we shouldn't generalize, but she generalized, and there was a lot of females who was jumping on that bandwagon saying, applauding. You hear it in the audience, they were applauding. Yes, yes, yes. I wonder how many of those females that was applauding that applies to their life, or they were just applauding her because she said something that sounds good, and she says, men, you know what I mean? She says, okay, men need to understand. Men need to step in their shoes. I don't know. I I I I need to hear from people, man. I need, because I'm just trying. This is just my opinion on something. I need to hear from some folks to say, well, what are some of your experiences? What do you see? What are some of your thoughts on the topic? That's what I really want to hear. That I want to have a conversation. I don't want to be the only one up here talking. I want to have conversations. This is what this podcast is about. Is about having conversation with people and discuss some of these gender roles. I read something today that says gender roles. Gender roles are tasks or behavior that are associated with being male or female. They are social constructs, or in other words, made up or arbitrary. People can feel compelled to follow them, but it's on an individualized basis. I don't know. In today's society, I feel like that hit the nails on the head. We definitely need to hear some men on the topic. We definitely need to hear more male talk about these things. And I don't know if people are scared to have you know, say your mind, speak your mind. You don't have to go on the live show. Give a call. Call me, like Miss Cleo used to say. Call me now. All right. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about it. I want to hear what some of the males have to say regarding this very topic. because I just don't see it. I don't, in my experiences, I don't see, and what I've seen and hear of how female talks, I don't see this traditional stuff existing in 2023, not on the grand scale level like that's presented in that podcast. Again, you're gonna have some. Every situation is different, like Cherie says, because some people are in relationships that are, whether they can't get out of it or not, or they're stuck in it for whatever reason. But again, that's a different topic for a different time. But you're in a relationship. Is that stuff that's expected of you? What do you guys do? Cherise, what do you mean? You see both? You see both types of relationships where it's where people is expected, and then somewhere it's not expected but it's done. I know we talked about bunching people up in a gender in a group, and generalizing generalizing. No, generalizing is not a good thing. It's definitely not a good thing. We shouldn't generalize. We shouldn't talk about, because it doesn't exist all for all people. It's not right. It's not fair to those that are not in that situation. But when if a majority is, if it's a majority thing, then history says that you're not necessarily wrong when you generalize. So again, is it a majority where there still exists in non-traditional? As a man, I feel like my primary role is to provide, to protect, and to prepare. And to prepare, like they says, the three P's: provide, protect, and prepare. Prepare as in, taking care, making sure that your family is in good standing, is in good, prepare for the future. Protect, obviously protect. What protect means: protect your family from all kind of dangers out there, and provide, whether it's support from, whether it's financial support, whether it's emotional support, whatever it is. I mean, that goes both ways, but that's general for men in a relationship. But again, I mean, those are traditional stuff, are that don't go away. A man role is gonna be a man role in a relationship for as long as those men's role don't change. I don't feel like men role change, as far as I'm talking about, like a, not just some person who just freaking just, they're not in, they don't step up to the plate and then be a man in their relationships. I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about men who's genuine to their relationships. Okay, men who's genuine to relationships. Those are the guys that step up to the plate and do what they have to do. Those are the ones that, and same thing for the female too. I also seen a relationships where the man stay at home and took care of the house. I think Sharice's the only one talking on here. Where's everybody else? I also seen a relationships where men stay home and took care of the house and children while the wife worked. It worked for them. I agree. It does work for them. We're talking about the situation, not that particular situation. Those are the ones that have good communication and good agreement between both of them where it works. We're talking about the ones who, the female, like this female that says she's obviously fed up with being in that situation, and she feels stuck doing not the traditional stuff. She feel like she's stuck, and that's why she's speaking out. That's the one I'm really talking about. You know, how does social media play a part in how we see roles in relationships, Sharice. Sharice, I think you should call. You feel you have the energy to call? I feel like we should talk live because you have a lot to say. We should have a conversation. Does social media influence strong relationships? Does social if you have a strong relationship, does the social media should social media play that role? Uh-oh. First call live. That's Around Town Podcast.
This is Trina or
Trina.
Sharice.
Trina. Oh my, can you hear me?
I can.
Awesome. I definitely appreciate you. You're my first caller and you will forever be stuck in that position as my first caller. So I owe you that much. All right. There's a lot. There's a lot. You're saying a lot. Talk to me.
So I think that I see it all the time. Social media, basically, I think that a lot of people really go by what social media says they're supposed to do in a relationship instead of it's like so much stuff on social media. You should do this in your relationship or you should do that in your relationship. And you have a lot of young people, young minds who are gonna navigate toward what people suggest on social media. Because social media is like everything to younger people. So they get a lot of their ideas and want to say like in quotation traditions now from social media
Hmm.
and what they see other people doing in their relationships and not sitting down and trying to figure out what it is they want in their relationship.
So, so then I know you notice you say young people. I mean, we made the mistakes. We made mistakes in our young when we're young. Yeah, we did. And we look back now and says, "Oh wow, those were mistakes that we made then." And they may be making those same mistakes now, but if you're in a solid strong relationships and you're letting social media influence you in that manner, is it really the social media that's the issue, or is it something else that's there's some insecurities going on there where it's affecting you that way, that in that manner?
It could be both. Like everybody is different, so it could be both. But I just know social media plays a lot of role in a lot of people's relationships.
Mhm. Well, I could
But
see.
I'm a more of a traditional type of person because that's just how I was raised.
Okay.
Like I was raised like this is my role and this is his role. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when I was married, though that was a role that I fulfilled. I did work when I was married. I did work, but my job still was the household and the children, him, cooking and stuff like that. But it didn't bother me so much. I didn't have to work. I wanted to work.
Yeah.
So maybe that was the difference for me because I didn't have to. Because he made enough money to cover like all the expenses in the household.
Yeah.
Me wanting to work was just me getting out the house.
Got you. So doing those traditional roles in the house, like you said, it didn't bother you, so that worked for your relationship.
Yes.
So in the case now, like where we have like this lady here saying um men should step up and understand. I'm not disagreeing that men shouldn't step up. I'm not disagreeing at all. But it seems like in her situation here that she's unhappy with doing all those things and her man is not stepping up. Or maybe she's talking about many situations she's seen where men aren't stepping up. So if you're in a if they're in a relationship and they're still doing these traditional roles and still working, and the man is not helping out, um is that still a man's fault?
Is it a man's what?
Fault for, I mean, should a man be blamed for that if she's doing that, if she chooses to do that? Is the man expecting her to do that? I can't speak and say, well, then whether
So
the
you really have to know. That's like a question that's hard to answer because you have to know what it is in that particular relationship. Does he expect that of her or does he not? We don't know that. So that's a hard question to answer.
Mhm.
If he does expect that of her and she is working and they're sharing the load, like the bills 50-50, that's no longer really 50-50. If she's paying bills and she's also coming home, cooking, cleaning, taking care of the children, doing the laundry, and taking care of him. That's not 50-50. That's more like 80-20, or, you know what I'm saying, 70-30.
Right.
So that's where the frustration would come in at. Like, hey, like we decided we would do 50-50, but this is not 50-50, and I'm getting the brunt of the load. So that's frustrating.
Yeah, you're right. It's hard to even to go and say, well, then whether or not um the man is not stepping up. It's hard to tell because she's not really here to defend it. Or put his I understand his side of the situation. Yeah, it's definitely hard to do that. Um and let's talk about the traditional roles in today's relationship. Do you see that there's still expectations of
Yes,
traditional roles?
yes.
Wow.
Because you have people who have grown up like this,
Yeah.
like, some older people and even some younger people. They've seen this is how their parents grew up. I mean, how they grew up in their parents' household. Then they may take on that traditional role themselves.
So if
So
that's
um,
yeah,
go ahead.
if that's something that they grew up with and accept it as their role, then that's what's going to work for their relationship. But those situations shouldn't count as what she's talking about.
It may count if that's what y'all agreed upon and it's traditional for you and him,
Mm.
but one of the partners in the relationship is not stepping up to that. They could have very well agreed that, they're both traditional and
Mm.
this is what we're going to do. But sometimes you can agree upon something and not fulfill what you agreed upon.
So also you're saying that in that particular situation, then maybe there was an agreement to share it, and that person that she's talking about is not stepping up to do it.
Could be.
Mm.
But like I said, we would never really know because we don't know the dynamics of their relationship and what they agreed upon.
Hmm.
So that question is very hard to answer.
I- Here's another question for you. Do you think that there are specific roles in a relationship?
I do
So there are certain
because I'm more traditional.
yeah. So you're okay. You would be okay with saying, I'm a female, then I should do the cooking or should do the
Yes,
laundry.
yes, but however,
Yeah,
if he wants to cook, I'm not going to stop him from cooking.
absolutely.
But I would say that's primarily my role.
And is that because of how you've grown up and that's what it is?
Yes,
You think and you believe that in 2023 that if a man expect that it would be okay.
yes.
Okay. Wow. And you said you're single. Anybody out there who's looking for a wife?
Be quiet, Tyler.
Because 2020, well, I mean, you got to understand too, we're probably of a different generation as well, so um I don't even know. You see, I may fall into the non-traditional category because like I said, there's not one expectations. There's not a lot of expectations I would have in my household to say, well, then you're a female. Other than I'll select those roles for myself. Let me just say that. I could say for
Mhm.
myself that if my wife says she wants to go cut the lawn, I'm says which lawn are you going to go cut? I would not allow her to do that. So in a sense, as a male, um, I guess I would agree to the fact that well then those are the traditional stuff. I stand by traditional roles as well. Same thing for
Yeah.
the snow shoveling. I don't expect. I mean, if she wants to help out or whatever it is, I'm not gonna say no, you cannot. But for if she's gonna help and do those things, then I cannot be in the house sitting down not doing anything and expect and see her out there doing it. And
Yeah. I agree.
some of the things I've always said, some of the things that I have a problem with too is um you have a female out there changing a car tire while the man is on a cell phone or watching her do it. Not that a woman shouldn't know how to do these things, I'm not saying that, but at the same time, why aren't you helping out? Why don't you know do these things? So
Mhm.
I'm a kind of a traditional guy too in those sense. But again, it's just the idea of saying that you're in a relationships where you don't want to do those things, but you're still doing it because you feel like it's the thing to do or it's my job to do it. I don't buy those things in the 2023. Not if a female don't want to do it, I don't think she's gonna do it. That's just
I
me.
think so. I think that a lot of times that's a part of our nature as a woman to want to do those things for our person. And I'm not saying all females, but that's our nature because we are nurturers.
Hmm.
That's part of nurturing. So, like for me, that's just a part of who I am, and so for some other women, that's just a part of who they are. Yeah, you're gonna get some women that don't want to do it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just a situation where you and that partner are gonna sit down and discuss like the roles that each one of y'all gonna play in a relationship. But I think a lot of us go into situations and we don't discuss this, and that's where the problem comes in
I agree. I
because
complete.
we might have these expectations of the other person in the roles in which we play, but we never discussed it.
So then, in my opinion, then the traditional versus non-traditional is not. I mean, yeah, it causes a rift in the relationship, but then the bigger issue is that there's they're lacking in certain other things other than, and that's just what that's causing the argument is the fact that that highlighted the real issue. Then put it that way, the traditional versus non-traditional highlighted what the real problem is, and the real problem is they don't have good communication.
True.
Is that a good argument to buy?
That's basically a lot of the problems in relationships is a lack of communication.
Piper, what's going on? Thanks for checking out the live. Piper says traditional, and was always taught to do, and never make my wife have to do. But that's just how you grow, and I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. That's how what a man is supposed to do and step up and do these things. Now, Piper, I gotta ask you these questions while you're on the check-in. Let's just
Oh,
say
Colin, I'm gonna get off, okay?
I appreciate you calling. I thank you so much. I hope you feel great and wonderful. And I
Thank you.
and we'll talk some more. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye bye.
Bye. Piper, like I said, thank you for checking out. Got a question for you, Piper, while you're here. Now, do you take part in the traditional roles in the house? Like for instance, let's say the laundry or the cooking or the cleaning and things like that. Do you help out with that situation in the household. And while Piper is typing up and answering that question, I give you an example of a situation that it might be more common than you think. The situation might be more common than you think. And tell me if this is fair or not. When you have a female have an issue with doing traditional roles in the house, traditional roles, like I said, the cooking, the cleaning, the laundry, and things like that. When they have an issue with that and they're in a relationship and a man decides to step up and take on some of those traditional roles, does the female also take on some of the man's traditional roles? Does the female do that? A situation that I've heard of in cases where a man will step up and do a lot of those things, but what will happen is the female is like, you know what, since you're doing that, all right, good, thank you. But the man still have to go out there and do his traditional roles. Is that fair? Is that something that's fair? In my opinion, I don't feel like it's a fair trade-off because now it's still not 50-50 like what she would ask for. So again, you're asking for help. It's like, for instance, somebody asks you for help and then you go and help them and they says, okay, sit down and keep working while I watch you work. Things like that burn me up big time. It burns my soul to see things like that where your buddy or your friend call you over and says, can you help me do some painting, and you go there to paint and he decided to go have lunch while you're working still. That's how I can compare that. No, that can't work. If a female is gonna ask for a man to step up and take on some of those traditional roles, then she needs to also understand that there are traditional roles that men play also. It's not just one-sided thing. It's not just a one-sided thing. She have to understand that there are traditional roles that he does as well. And the fact that either she choose not to do those men's traditional roles or can't do those men's traditional roles, those roles have to be factored into the situation as well. You have to. You have to. If you're going to talk about 50-50, you have to factor into those things. You know what I mean? So, um, here we go. Piper talking about social media again. Sharice talk about social media. Piper's talking about social media again. God. I mean, so I guess it's good and bad with the social media. I guess it is good and bad with it because I guess you have to take the good. I like social media in the sense that I can do something like this that I always wanted to do. We can have conversations like this, using social media. But I guess the bad part of it is that it does mess with people's head and it creates some kind of things. And I think what Piper is alluding to is the fact that you may put like this lady here, you put this thing out there and says, men have to step up, men have to do these things, and help out and step in their shoes and things like that. And you have 1,000 women jump up and clear and cheer and says, yes, it's true, and they have no clue. They're not even in that kind of situation themselves, but yet they're agreeing with it. There's, like Cherie says, there are factors in these situations. Definitely are factors in these situations. Definitely. Not every situation is shoes. One size shoes doesn't fit all. Absolutely. But at the same time, um, if we're gonna jump up and cheer, make sure you can it applies to your situation. If you're gonna disagree, don't apply to things like that. Don't it doesn't, if it doesn't work for you, is don't agree with it. You shouldn't have to you shouldn't agree with it because it don't apply to your situation. And maybe that's what the social media thing Piper is talking about. And here we go again, what Piper says. I said this earlier too, Piper. I said the same thing. There, whether she can do it or not, there are certain things that I just simply says, you know what, that's my role. I'm not gonna allow you to do that. I absolutely agree with you. Not that she can't do it, not that, and it doesn't mean that this doesn't mean that because I don't want her to do those things that are traditional men roles, it doesn't mean that I'm gonna say, well, then you have to do the traditional roles. No, absolutely doesn't mean that. It just means that as a man, I'm gonna say, that's my role. I'm gonna do those roles. All right. And if I'm able to, I shouldn't have my woman do those things. Okay. Because again, that's my thing. You understand? So, um, I know I've talked a lot. I appreciate definitely a lot of people who come in. Hopefully, going in the future, we have more people who can step in and have a broader topic conversation on these things. But some of the things that I wanted to definitely take away um, from this conversation or this talk is, it's and Sharice talk about it. It's like you have to have communications. You have to have communications. Um, are expectations okay in relationships? Is it okay to have expectations of your partner? Again, it depends on the expectations and do they agree with it? You know what I mean? Um, Expectations may not be a bad thing. It definitely may not be a bad thing. In the idea of meeting expectations, though, you have to be willing to try new things or change roles if need be. Those are some of the things that that falls under meeting expectations. I I don't know. Let's say in Piper situations, let's say, um, you know, he has he wants his wife to know how to change brakes or whatever it is, and she didn't know how to do it. If she's not willing to try something like that, and he wants her to learn it and wants her to know how to do these things, and she's not willing to do it, then it's not going to go anywhere. So again, you have to be willing to try new things, and it may not just be that. You have to be, it could be other things too. Maybe Piper don't know how to cook, and his wife says, you know what, man, sometimes I need you to step up and cook some food. But if he's not willing to try, it's not going to go anywhere. Communications about expectations is huge. It's huge. If you can't communicate and says, you know what, I need you to be able to put gas in my, if we're going to have a relationship, you have to open my car door every time. And if that's the expectations and both agree to it, then that's your expectations. That's what you agree to. Then it is what it is. Not everybody's going to want to be able to want to do that every time, but if that works for your relationships, that's the communications you have, then that's going to be important in that relationship. Be honest about your expectations. This is, oh my god, you wouldn't, oh be honest about expectations. A lot of times we have situations where one partner is gonna say, you know what, you should know. Oh, oh gosh, hold on there, hold on. Mm, let me take a sip. You should know. You should know. Yes, there are some things you should know, but to be honest with you, you don't. You there's a you can't know emotions. You can't necessarily know. A lot of times when you say you should know, think that he probably don't know. If you know somebody's not, if you know that that person is not the person to neglect your wants and your needs and just didn't do something, don't say you should know. Maybe you don't know. Teach. That's not good communications. Okay. If there's something that you expect, be honest about it. Be honest about it, about what is expected of your partner. Don't just say you should know. Let's be real here. Like the lady says, not every, we are different human beings. We're different. We're on different situation. We have different expectations of each other, and what might be emotion. I think I heard somebody says this before. Woman is more emotional and men is more physical, and I don't. I believe that it has. It makes sense to me. Not that men aren't emotional, but it's just saying that woman is more on the emotional level, men is more on the physical level. Piper says his communication skill is bad, but for his marriage, he had to fix those things, and he's doing better. Congrats to you, Piper. I hope that's working in the relationships. It have to be, man. It's communication is huge because um I've known people who've been married for a long time, and they're still learning new things about their partner. So it's not something that you can just pick up and know and learn right away. It's something that it takes time. Relationships is not something you're learning somebody new for the first time. It's gonna take time, and it takes communication. It takes patience. It's huge. Don't take it personally when your partner can't meet your expectations. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Damn. Don't take it personal. You don't love me because you don't do this. You don't love me because you didn't do that for me. Oh boy. How often do you hear that in certain relationships? You don't love me because even though you have a broken leg, you didn't drive to the store and grab my ice cream. Oh boy, that's just sorry to make joke of it, but it's there are certain things that it's you know some expectations are they might be a little bit too unreasonable. Understand? And it might be too far fetched. It might be too high of a bar for the person that you're with, and you have to know. You really have to know what your capability of the person that you're expecting these things of. If you're in a relationship and committed relationships, th- you need to definitely understand the limitations of your partner. Don't take it personal. Okay. Some might need to learn the difference in when some women talk to them, try to better us and not belittle us. But sometimes we not hear or see that. Okay. There is times when giving space in the relationships is necessary. Not to go move out and go walk, do this thing. Maybe you need to take a walk someplace and just cool off a little bit. Giving some space in the sense of, you have this argument about expectations or what have you, and you don't, and there's a difference in opinions and things like that. Especially if you're married late in life, you got to understand too is you are a grown man and a grown woman who have lived your life for 30 some odd years doing things a certain way, and you meet somebody for the and you got into a relationship with someone, and now the things that you're used to doing is part of your comfort level. Now you have to compromise on those things. And pardon me, my birthday balloons are popping up here. Sorry for that. So hope it didn't scare you. My birthday balloons are popping. But you you lived your life all so many years, and you're in some comfort zone, comfort level. And now you have to compromise on those things. It's not an easy task to just jump and switch who you've been for so long. It doesn't mean that you don't want to. It just simply means that it's gonna take time for you to get to that compromise, that peace that's gonna bring a certain level to your relationships. Bless up Piper on the birthday wish. You see, so you have to understand that compromise do take time. Here's another thing, and I did take notes. I didn't want to come in here without some points to talk about. So yes, I know I'm not one of those person who can talk for hours and not have take notes. Yes, I did take notes. That's why you hear me looking at my paper here. I'm not them super genius. I just want to talk and have conversation. Don't blame yourself if things don't work out. I heard Medea used to say, not everybody's meant for everybody. And some people are in your life for a season. I strongly believe in what God ordained for people and ordained for some of us. I believe that God has a strong role in what happens to people. All right. We don't, yeah, we make decisions on our earthly decisions, but at the same time, I strongly feel that whatever experience you experience in life is experience that's going to help you out in the next phase of your life. Okay. I like DJing. I've DJed for a long time. I love DJing. I love entertaining people. This is not something, I've done radio at the college level where I've played music and talk. I did that at Winnick. I did that at AIC, and those are some of the little experiences that I had that makes me want to keep doing these things, and you know and do something like this, to have conversations on like a broadcast level. You understand? So um you in a relationships and it don't work out. If you're paying attention in your relationships, there's things that you could take away from that relationships and gonna help you out in the next one, should you choose to go to a next one. Or it might be even my experience that you have that's gonna help you out in another situation. Or it could possibly be a situations where you learn something and you could pass that knowledge on to somebody else. Not everybody in your life is there for a lifetime. Experiences should be treated as experiences and learn from them that you may need and carry on to the next phase in your life. Okay? Just some of the things. I mean, this is a tough topic. Like I said, I really wish that we had some folks here to have a long conversation with. I had conversations with some females that were varying topics, and ooh, some of them were deep. It's just it's one of the things I want to touch on. There's so much more to talk about, but here we are. We're talking about relationships, roles in relationships. I appreciate those who, like I said, who chimed in and had something to say about it. Sharice, my first caller. Trina, my first caller. Appreciate you. Couple more minutes, we're gonna wrap up. Understand? But just some of the takeaways that I really wanted to bring to this conversation is um, like we touched on, communication is huge. Communication is like an unspoken rule with the communications. Really, it's huge. It's vital. In you can make relationships work, and even whatever roles that you decide to choose in your life, whether it's traditional or non-traditional, whatever roles you decide, once you guys communicate that and agree with it, and even if it has to change, even if those roles have to change, you communicate that and say, well, then, I mean, things have to change a little bit, and you agree and you compromise and you make it work with your relationships. There are times when, like Cherie says, what if I lost my job and I have to stay home and do a lot of the traditional, sure, work around the house? Okay, we communicate, and that's gonna have that's we decide to do that, and I do those things and keep moving. All right, it may be temporary, it may be long term, but at the same time, it's communicating those roles and make it work for your relationship. Communication is vital when it comes to that unspoken rule. It's just like roles, roles in a relationship. Just talk about them, communicate about them, and make them work for you. Develop a list of important things. I touched on that earlier. When you start a relationships, these are you have to decide whether or not what role people are going to play. Again, they can change, absolutely can change, but it's important to, if you have expectations that your woman have to cook every day or have to be the main cooker in the house and she agrees to it, then that's something you agree with it. um like Cherie says, maybe she wants to cook all the time or most of the time or majority of the time. That's what works for her, that's what she's comfortable with. All right. But understanding those, communicating what you expect of yourself and your partner is important. It may be because of how you grew up with it, or maybe that's something that's just important to you that is to have in your relationship. But you have to communicate. Um, Over time, you understand each other tendencies, and that's where you start to know who the person is. Maybe you can finish each other's sentences. That's where you start getting to the understanding what tendencies are in your relationship, and all of a sudden you go into unconscious roles now. So when you're getting to that stage in your life, you're doing good. Definitely knowing good when you can finish each other's sentences, or because, you know what, um maybe I have to go do the dishes because I know that's what I need to do to make my partner happy or what have you, or maybe she like jerk chicken and I cook jerk chicken. Maybe she like it extra spicy, so I'll make it extra spicy. Things are those are the things that becomes unconscious after a time, unconscious roles after a time. So it is what it is. So um, respect, and this is the last thing I'm gonna talk about: respecting each other. Part of what men, they probably one of the only things that men expect in a relationship is respect. 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 Bigger than probably anything. I don't know. It might be a close second. Might be a sex and respect. I don't know which one come first still, but I don't know which one come first. But when they're neck and neck. They're neck and neck. Can you have one without the other as far as a man is concerned? I don't know. But like I said, respect is huge in any relationship. You can't have a woman who's disrespecting you on any level. And likewise, you can't have a man disrespecting a woman on any level either. You understand? You can't have that. Absolutely not. You can't disrespect each other. Um, I've seen situations where one disrespect the other one in front of people, in front of the kids, in front of the guests. That just it don't work. It don't work. It don't work. It don't work. Just gotta be careful. And what's disrespect for one doesn't mean it's disrespect for the other, especially if you're not from the same culture. You decide to, have a relationship with someone outside of your culture. You also have to learn their culture and understand their culture. You know what I mean? So don't mean that one your disrespect is not this non disrespect is not disrespect for the other culture. So that's also huge as well. So keep those things in mind. That culture play a part in these things as well. You know, um, just respect. Definitely, respect is huge. Um, I wish all you guys happy relationships. I'm gonna try to make this thing a regular Wednesday at 8 o'clock. I definitely appreciate those of you who stuck with me throughout this whole broadcast, man. Um, like I said, Around Town podcast. There's so much to talk about. There's so much to discuss. This is episode 1. This is the pilot. Go and definitely roles in relationships, traditional versus non-traditional. It was a huge topic. It was a tough topic to talk about because there's so many factors that it involves. But at the same time, I think we was able to have a little bit of conversation with some folks, and I appreciate those who checked in and call and called in. Cherise called in, Piper, who did a lot of chatting. I even had my kids, my sons, big up to my sons CJ and Tajan, who checked out the podcast. They chimed in. Definitely appreciate that. So it's gonna be on the social media on Facebook. When you see replay, please share. I'd love for this platform to grow, and this platform is just to talk about these things that's in our community. There's different things we can talk about. We just want to talk about things that affect our relationships as a person, um, and just have good conversation. I do have the radio app, Times International Radio. You can download it on your Play Store, your Android, or Apple and what's the other one? Android, Apple and Android. Go download the app. It has music playing 24/7. But I will have this podcast. It goes live. When it goes live on there, so you could take that anywhere you go. And I also have the live call in 413-301-6215. I'm just trying to blow this thing up, man, and just help people out. It's not just about me or the benefit of me, but there's a lot to discuss that's going on in our community. And I'm hoping that this could be the place, the one-stop shop, or one of the places that you could come to and get some information about what's going on in our community. Um, it's not necessarily this. Maybe one day you logged in here and we're talking about basketball. Maybe one day we're talking about football. Another day we might be talking about mental health. Trina may come back on our platform here and share some knowledge on cancer. That's a huge topic that kills our community. It's a huge issue that sometimes a lot of people neglect the signs until it's too late. So enough things to talk about, enough things to get to. This is episode 1. This is Colin. I appreciate you checking me out. Until next time, we're outie. Appreciate you.